So game week 27 is done, and Arsenal have just dropped points to Wolves. Let that sink in. Arsenal had a chance to go 7 points clear with having played one game more. And Arsenal were 2 goals up in this game and ended up drawing 2-2. So effectively, Arsenal are 2 points ahead of City. That's what it is. City's game in hand is against Crystal Palace. Whenever they play that game, whatever Crystal Palace is doing, they're probably safe. The manager's leaving. Um, that might be a game that they'll win with, I don't know, gazillion goals. So Arsenal are now in a precarious position. It seems like everyone has manifested what they wanted to see. Arsenal throwing the title away, and they've spoken it to existence. From all the rival fans, Chelsea fans, City fans, Man United fans, the media. They've been talking about this, since December. Arsenal are throwing it away. They are throwing it away. Man City are coming. Beware of Man City. They're coming fast. Man City are going to go on a run. They're going to take this title. Arsenal are bottling. All the words. And listen, normally, this show after an Arsenal game, we do 3 wins, 3 ups and 3 downs. But I'm just reading the room right now. It doesn't feel like that is the sort of reaction after that performance. There was so much wrong with that performance by Arsenal. When the first goal went in by Saka, I'm thinking, yes, it's early on, settle the nerves, and then, go on and, kick in, score 2, score 3, score 4, take the game out of Wolves. Don't even give them a chance to think that they're still in this game. And then the game started becoming scrappy. And I thought to myself, nah, this is not what we want. This has become exactly like Brentford. Everybody is going to reduce Arsenal games to scrappy games, because when you disrupt Arsenal's rhythm, it seems like it also disrupts the ability to create, and it also disrupts the ability to be fluid. And it seems like everyone starts becoming an individual player. They stop playing as a team. I've never seen so many misplaced passes in a game. I'm not sure why Wolves brings out the worst in Arsenal when we play them. It was the same thing at the Emirates. Again, that game could have ended 1-1, but the own goal that got Arsenal the win. And this game was just degenerating into that. It's probably very sound for people to start talking about Arsenal players and throwing out individual blame. And I'm sure people are going to go to town, on Eze, because he's the usual fall guy. We always have one. People might go at Raya. People might go at Gabriel, might go at Saliba. My God, Madueke, he's another one, popular target for when Arsenal does very well. I think out of everyone that has to take the accountability for this game, I think it goes down to the manager. And you can say that it's the players step on the field and there's nothing the manager can do. But I think that Mikel Arteta would think about the decision that he made in the second half, the substitutions that he made that had no effect. So let's talk about the substitution. Because you took off Madueke and Gyökeres and you brought in Jesus. Um, and who did he bring on? Jesus. Was it Trossard that he brought on? No, probably not. Can't remember. Brought in Jesus. Definitely took off Madueke. Um, brought in Jesus and Eze. Sorry, brought in Jesus and Eze. Those substitutions didn't do anything. Might be in the minority. I thought, Madueke was probably not the player to come on. Um, I think that the experiment with Saka and everyone got excited about that, playing in that 10 and all of that. I was always worried about that because Saka is a great player, Arsenal's best player. But he's just coming back from an injury, and there is so much that is required, for someone to play that 10 position, that Odegaard position, in an away game. And an away game is, very different. And I thought that Arsenal had overcome their naivety. When you go away from home, you've got to understand, at this time of the season, you got to have very different tactics. Um, I think in hindsight, it's you can look at that starting 11 and say, Arsenal should have started with different players. I don't know what Norgate has to do to have a game in the Premier League. Um, I would have thought that, games like this, when you're playing some of this scrappy teams would be the sort of game that you want Norgate to play in. And reason why is because he played in Brentford. You know, he'll be playing teams that would be scrappy. This kind of games would be so familiar for Norgate, and he'll be so used to it and so unfazed. I think Rice and Zubimendi, absolutely brilliant players. They've just played too much football. And I think those players just needed a break. They just needed a break. You can just see it's not a physical break. I think it's a mental break. And of course, this week after the North London derby can't come any quicker because I think Arsenal needs that trip to Dubai, needs to recharge, needs to, basically reset before this get out of hand. There is no more margin left. No more margin left. For those of you that are familiar with this channel, I've been doing this road to 90. Can throw that away now. Um, there's 32 points, 33 points that can be gotten. Arsenal have 58. To get to 90, you need 32 at least. So you've got to be perfect. That perfect includes games against Man City, Spurs, Chelsea, Newcastle, Fulham, West Ham, Brighton, Bournemouth. There are no gimmies in those games. Absolutely no gimmies at all. These are teams that are going to be fighting for something. Teams that love to play Arsenal hard. And I'm sure Pep would have looked at Arsenal's fixture and would have given himself confidence and said, I think this one will be tough. I think that will be tough. We still got some tricky away games other than the City one. Brighton away, West Ham away. They're clawing and fighting. If we thought that Wolves were a problem, West Ham will be a problem as well. Crystal Palace. So some people might say that the title is done. I don't think so, but I think right now we've not shown signs that we can go perfect. And I always used to say, well, City are going to drop points, City are going to drop points. But Arsenal are now dropping points while City are not. So that's quite bad. Really, really bad. Chosen the worst time for Arsenal to go on this ridiculous form of only taking, was it 6 points or thereabout from 21 points that were available. Dropped so many points. We've now drawn more games than Man City, Liverpool, Aston Villa. And if you remember last season, it was the draws. The draws killed us, absolutely killed us. Oh, 13, 14 draws. Lost the same amount of games similar to Liverpool, but just drew too many. When you draw games, you lose more points than when you lose. It's just a fact. Arsenal have lost 4 points in these two games, Brentford and Wolves. That's the equivalent of a loss and some. So it's really precarious. I really hope the players can get it together. Um, I really hope that they are not listening to what everybody else is saying. But Arteta's got to get it together. We could go from being in the running for 4 titles to being in the running for none. Because you know how cup games are. They are very, very temperamental. And last season, we were riding that wave of, Champions League, having great performances coming into the league and absolutely struggling, dropping points here and there. We can't go on a roller coaster again. We just can't. So, listen, guys, apologies. We didn't do a 3 ups, 3 downs, but I think you can kind of, get the mood today. It has been one of those sort of moods. So, hey, listen, we got to pick ourselves up to North London Derby. And if there is a game that you've got to go in with all the momentum, with all the emotion, this is that game. This is the psychological lever that Arsenal has. You go and win that game against Tottenham and you're back in it. Anything but a win, it's a problem. Hit that like and subscribe button, guys. I'll see you in the next one.